Nigeria's main labour unions have given the government a 2-week ultimatum to pay workers the minimum wage agreed to a year ago or face a nationwide strike, including the key oil sector. Peter Esele is President General of the Trade Union Congress. He joins us from Abuja. Peter, thanks so much for your time. Now, labour unions are they're threatening a strike on Friday if the minimum wage is not implemented. What's gone wrong?
Yeah, what is wrong with it is that the minimum wage in Nigeria is a law, and the state governors were part of these laws. They were part of the negotiation. We had a negotiation that was now taken to the National Council of State, which moved from National Council of State to the National Assembly, and it was passed to the National Assembly and signed into law by the President. So what we are saying is that we expect the governors and the federal government to respect the law. We are not asking for anything more. We just want to ensure that Nigerian laws are respected.
Now, it's ironic because apparently state governors were part of the negotiation for this minimum wage of 18,000 naira, but it's the Forum of Governors that's come back and said that there are going to be challenges in implementing it across all states because some states are smaller than others, affordability issues.
What we have just done is to peg a minimum wage. States who can pay higher can go ahead and pay higher amount. We have also looked at all the states in the country, and we can assure you, and we know that they can pay. What the states need to do is to go ahead and say, okay, fine, we have to cut a lot of, we have to cut the cost of governance. It's government in Nigeria is very, very expensive. And why are we saying this? I'll give an example. You have a state in Nigeria that we say is a very small state, and the security vote for that state is 5 billion naira. 5 billion naira, you are looking at about close to about $20 to $30 million for what? So what we're asking for is, if that small state, and you now divide the 5 billion naira times 12, you are looking at about 409 million naira every month as security votes. And that state I'm talking to you now is not Lagos, which is one of the richest in Nigeria. It's not Rivers, which is in the oil delta. Neither is in Bayelsa or Delta. So if you can have that from a small state that I will call landlocked state in Nigeria, wanting to spend 409 million naira on a monthly basis on security votes, that tells you they have enough money.
Right. Okay. What's the response, Peter, of the private sector? Because ultimately a minimum wage can't just be exclusive to public sector workers.
The beauty of this is that we are not even having problems in the private sector. That is why it's so strange for us. The private sector were part of the negotiation. Our initial demand was 52,500 naira. And the private sector came up and said, if we do 52,500 naira, it's going to be too high. And we took the media. The media came to about 26,000. And then the small-scale industry says, no, we can't pay 26,000. And that was how we were able to drag it down to 18,000 naira. With the state governors had their representative in attendance. And so the private sector, through their organization, they also have their own organization, even took a paid advert in the papers supporting our position, that they were part of this and they know they can pay.
There have been calls made that with the introduction of a minimum wage, basically workers must also be responsible to the state by paying taxes. So ultimately, there's a give and take that's required here. What's your response?
We have always been paying taxes. So I think they're just looking for some flimsy excuses here. We've always been paying taxes, and we are even starting to ask questions about what our tax is used for. These governors that we are talking about, you have to find out what is the cost of maintaining them. What is the cost of governance in Nigeria? You and I know how expensive it is to run the National Assembly. I heard one of members of the National saying that in the next 4 years, the total cost of running the National Assembly in Nigeria is about $2 billion. So what they are telling us now is that we know, we've also checked the various budgets in the 36 states of the country, and we know there are so many wastages in the system, and we know that these governors can curb it. Now, immediately you are made governor, you have ministers and you have commissioners, they have special assistant of this and that. Special assistant of what? Okay. So these are the reasons we are saying government must cut costs.
Peter, we've run out of time, but I think the biggest issue for many countries is once you introduce a minimum wage, you must have a situation where those workers at the bottom of the pyramid start to move up to a point where they don't depend on a minimum wage. So we're talking saving schemes, provident funds. other ways of making capital productive and workers productive at the same time. What are you offering as solutions?
Now you take to also let, so that you also know that we've been able to look at the whole thing holistically. Even in the law, we said if you are employing less than 50 people, if you are employing less than 50 people, you can go into negotiation with your workers. If you are employing less than 50 people, you have to look at, okay, can we pay or can we not? And if you know you cannot pay and you are employing less than 50 people, then you have a negotiation with those workers who are with you.
Okay.
But if you are employing more than 50, why we took those decisions is to ensure that those small-scale industries are not destroyed or are not damaged. And then you also have to look at Nigeria. You are talking about National Provident Fund and what have you. What are the safety nets that the federal government have created? What are the safety nets that the government have created? If you're a worker in Nigeria, you virtually provide security for yourself. You provide water for yourself.
Okay.
You are a government unto yourself.